I'm Kanan, and that's Nikki.
Can I be Bob today?
You can be Bob today.
Nah,
I might be,
Steve.
Steve is so boring.
So is Bob.
Alright.
So this is our monthly members live stream. So, for some reason through the phone when we set it up, we can't go in and members only like we have before. So this is public, but the comments are restricted to members.
Right.
So, a little bit different. This is how we ended up having to do it last Sunday, or the last month,
yeah.
Sunday live stream, just because we couldn't get it to work. So, still a work in progress. Still trying to figure out how to do these live streams for members only and make them work. But, so for anyone who's not a member, you're not going to be able to chat and comment and all that, but the members will be. And I should probably move that over because it looks like I'm only seeing part of Kanan.
Yep. I'm all here, though. I
you can only see part of him when he's all here.
I'm all here.
Whatever. So, usually what we do on these Sundays is we just kind of give you a little bit of updates on what's been going on. So, it's burn season for us, which means Klamath County usually gives us two 2-week periods a year to burn yard debris and that kind of stuff. Last year we got none. The year before we didn't get the one in the fall, I think.
So yeah, because of wildfires, they're not turning it on at all.
So ours started this last Saturday. We got to burn 1 day, 2 days. We've gotten to burn 2 days because of weather. Just too much wind. We're way too dry, so right now it's considered fire danger. So that's kind of a big deal. Kanan's over here watching some kind of movies. So we have a burn pile that's going right now that has been burning for like 4 days. We've got a pitch stump in there. We've buried it. We've soaked it. We've soaked it again. We soaked it and buried it and soaked it. And it's still smoldering. Okay.
Maybe.
Something's going off my phone. It kicked off the Wi-Fi and it kicked off Kanan's phone. So, hopefully. Yeah. The only one we had on was Anita, and it looked like she's gone. Anyway.
Computer connected to my phone, but it says there's no internet available.
Huh, that's weird. Well, okay, we'll try this for number 7.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get any more burn season. That might be it. We're mostly just burning sagebrush, pine cones, pine needles, that kind of stuff that doesn't really compost very well. Pine needles do. They just take a really long time, and they tend to make the soil pretty acidic.
Yeah.
So I try not to compost them just because it's kind of a pain. But yeah, we'll see. So that's the big thing. Of course, I'm sure all the rabbit people have noticed that RHD is moving around again. We've got a couple of new cases in Oregon, one a couple of hours from us. Nothing that's impacting us directly at this point. So that's good. Right now, because I know people have been asking about class, right now, we will still be moving forward with having rabbit class in May. We might be doing some different things as far as maybe not, maybe changing up how we do our tour through the rabbit barns and that kind of stuff. And may change the hands-on part of things. I can always move a rabbit out to a quarantine area. But right now we're going to go on and still do it. So fingers crossed that RHD doesn't get any closer. All the Oregon shows canceled, and then some of them started trying to reschedule because ARBA changed the quarantine rule. So right now everything's up in the air. That's all I can tell you. Everything's up in the air. That's probably a fair synopsis of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everything's up in the air. I mean, I've still got car stuff, but I ended up yesterday taking a sizable sum of money for the one car I've been trying to sell, so I don't even know what I'm going to do this year now because I've got basically one that's in a barn that's, I don't know, could catch fire the minute I try to start it, and the other one I've got, it's all in complete pieces. I'm trying to finish the bodywork up. So my activities are,
You're just gonna have to finish a car.
I'm just going to have to finish a car.
That's the answer.
So that's okay.
Yeah, so we've had some setbacks here lately. I know everybody probably remembers that I was incubating like 120 quail eggs. We'll talk about it more on tomorrow's live stream, provided that the internet wants to work. But I hatched out 2 out of 120 eggs. And some of it we figured out was the egg issues. The other part of it, my very expensive cabinet incubator. This is like year number 6 that I've been using it. Apparently, we had a malfunction and it screwed up the temperature, and it was getting like 103 degrees in the incubator. I bought a new external thermostat or thermometer and hygrometer that mounts inside, and kind of figured it out and recalibrated. And I don't know what the answer with the incubator is going to be. I do know I had the entire thing full of eggs, so I don't know that anything in there is viable now. So we're just kind of muddling through with it. I did set a few more eggs this last week, but we won't know for 3 weeks if that actually worked or not. So kind of a frustrating event, as they do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've been really tied up with Harlequin Club business. It's been taking up a whole bunch of my time again. And I don't know. Hopefully that's going to settle down a little bit now. What else has been going on? Kidding season is less than a month away.
Yeah, that's probably more like a couple weeks away.
Yeah, I've still got to look that up and see.
Yeah. We got guests. Nikki's friend is coming next weekend.
Yes.
So they'll be here a couple days. So we probably won't do a lot of homesteading in those days. More like just chores. My parents are planning on coming the first week of May, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So they'll be here a few days. I'm not totally sure yet. I don't know that they have their plans set yet, but somewhere around the first big weekend of May.
Yep.
They'll come out for a few days, which means we probably won't get a lot done. Try to take a little bit of time off as we can. What, the fire?
Yeah, just looking at your fire out there smoldering.
Anybody have watched The Simpsons where you had the never-ending burning tire fire?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
What was the comment there? I think Anita said something about candling.
Candle them, at least maybe you'll set your mind at ease on the eggs.
So, I did candle some. The problem that I have is it didn't malfunction early. Like, we know the moment that the incubator started having trouble.
There is a message.
My phone is just going crazy. We know the moment the incubator started having trouble. Somebody that I don't want to name left the well running, and it actually flooded the garage. And when it did that, it kicked the power strip, or it got the power strip wet, kicked the GFI that's on that side of the shop, and it knocked the incubator out. When it knocked the incubator out, and we came back a couple hours later and figured it out, restarted the incubator, we were already like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks into a hatch. So when it came back up is when it apparently something got screwed up in the sensor and it was reading incorrectly. And that's when it got too hot. So I've candled, and there's development on the quail eggs. They're because of the little spots, it's so hard to candle them and know exactly where you're at with them. Like, I look through all the goose eggs, I see good development. They're kind of hard to see enough to see if they're still viable. So yeah, I did candle a whole bunch of it. Like, I candled, after I pulled the quail eggs out, I candled 2 rows. It's got three rows in it. And I candled 2 whole rows and pulled a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't developing 2 and 3 weeks in, that obviously was infertile. So I pulled a bunch of stuff out. But again, because I don't know at what point they killed or died. I'm not real sure yet. So I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. I feel like my geese were really on a roll. Yeah, you should be able to see movement, but not always, because I've candled for years and a lot of times you don't see a whole lot of movement anyway. But I do need to go back through everything again and just kind of see what's going on in there. But yeah, like the geese were laying really well, and I have like 35 eggs in there, and I think they're all bad. So we're gonna find out. Like I said, I've got it recalibrated. It's running right. The only thing that I cannot get figured out as to why it's not running right is a humidity pump. So Brincy has the external humidity pump, which is really nice for us here, as dry as we are. So I don't have to constantly be filling it with water, which means opening the door. It's got an external reservoir that pumps in, and for some reason, all it will do is run now. So when you plug it in, no matter what the humidity reading on the incubator is, it will run itself empty and it will flood down into the incubator. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that. Brincy is not helpful. I love their products, but their customer service sucks. The response that I got to the email is, if you want to package everything up and mail it to us here in Titusville, Florida, we'll take a look at it. That doesn't help me in the middle of hatch season. The gal told me she thought the turnaround right now would be 60 days. So she was like, you can attempt to calibrate it and you might have to manually run the pump for a little bit. Which I'm like, that's not running the pump. That's unplugging the pump and manually putting water in it. So you might as well have just said, manually take care of the humidity, which is fine, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not running right. So the birds have been a huge setback, which is okay because right now Hip Camp is keeping us running pretty good. So we've been open 2 weeks for the year.
April 1st or 2nd, whatever that Saturday was.
Yeah, and we've already had 4 campers?
4 or 5. Maybe
we had the
4.
folks last night, the guy the other day that stayed 2 days.
The other guy in the middle.
The other guy that stayed a day.
And the couple from the north.
Yeah.
So we've had 4 reservations in
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Well, 3. This will be the end of the 3rd weekend, I would say.
Yes.
And we've had 4 reservations. And we have, I don't know, going forward the next month and a half, I think we already have 3 or 4 reservations.
Yeah, almost every day I get another booking for May. Yeah.
So it's starting to really pick up. You know, the weather's getting nice. We're
unseasonably warm.
Yeah, I mean, it's, 70 degrees already? 72 degrees, I think?
It'll be 75 today. So today I have to go worry about rabbits and make sure, when you go from 50s and 60s to 70s, not everybody's done molting. And it gets to be a little stressful on the bones.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll run the misters today. So, big news kind of, I guess, in the rabbitry. I'm cutting some rabbits back again. We have decided to get rid of, we have a flesh clean unit, or technically it's a rabbit tech from KW Cages. I have an 8-foot rabbit tech that's out in a Shelter Logic pop-up carport. I think it's listed as a pop-up carport.
Okay.
I've had it for like 5 or 6 years. I love it in the summer, hate it in the winter, because all it does is freeze here. So it's impossible to flush, so it builds up, and it's just a nightmare. So we've decided we're going to get rid of that, mostly because with the whole RHD thing, it's impossible to keep anything out of it. Yeah. Like Canaan's cats love to go sleep in the nest boxes underneath. You can't keep flies out of it. It's already really hard to keep cool in there because of how hot the ceiling gets. So I've ordered some extra cages. we are redoing everything in the Harlequin barn right now. So that means everything is coming out. I'm fixing and replacing pretty much all the floors.
Yeah.
Some of those cages are like 10 years old now. And the original bass cages were not the best wire on the floor. So they're starting to rust. Not always on the top where the rabbits are, but they do start to rust on the underside. So when I'm pulling these things apart, these stackers, and turn them over, the wire on the top may look fine, but they're rusty on the bottom. So anything that I think is still good and salvageable is getting pressure washed, dried, and Rust-Oleum or Krylon painted with the rust inhibitors, because the Harlequins aren't terribly heavy, so we're trying to save some of the floors. Anything that I feel like it's too weak or over 50% of the floor has got rust on it, I'm just pulling them off and replacing them with some new wire I got from KW Cages that is galvanized afterweld, which is the good stuff. But it's a long process. Like, we did 2 stacks in the American barn. I did 2 stacks in the Harley barn, and I have another stack to finish up this morning and put back in. Right now we're playing the gamble of rabbits are going outside during the day while I'm cleaning and doing some of this. And I'm hoping it doesn't bite me. You know, I can't keep all the bugs away from them and everything else, but we're trying to get all this done. When it's all finished, I think I figured out I'll be down to 75 cages, which I know everybody goes down to, plus the, what is there, 4 hutches in the barn.
Yeah.
Right now I have 86, 82, something like that. So it is cutting like a good 10 cages back, and it needs to happen. I'm so busy that trying to keep up on everything it's getting away from me. And we're going to dial it back, and if that's still not enough, we're going to dial back a little further. It sucks. I've got a lot of time and energy invested in all these rabbits, right? So it's hard for me to cut some of them out. And I'm looking at cutting some Triantas out that quite frankly, as good as the lines are, they're going to go to freezer camp because they're really too old for anybody else to want to buy them at this point. So it's kind of a bummer, but it probably needs to happen. I just have such a feeling that last year I felt like, as crazy as the world was, I had all this extra time because he was laid off or furloughed
at that
for all
point.
that summer.
Yeah.
So we had all this time to do stuff. This year, I just feel like I have so much going on. We've got to get fencing in, and we've got to do all this stuff. We're about to start kidding goats in the next month. That I feel overwhelmed today, or this year so far. And today, I started to say today, I feel overwhelmed. The to-do list is immense right now. And of course, he was originally supposed to be done with his project like a month ago. Now it's this coming Friday. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot of gardening stuff to do and a lot of bird pens to clean and goat barns to clean, which is all perfectly normal for this time of year. But I really think it's the weather. We're so warm and we're so nice. And I've got a little bit of spring fever, and I feel like I should be going right now, doing all of my summer stuff or late spring stuff. And it's really early. Like, we usually don't plant the garden until after Memorial Weekend. But the weather right now is so nice. And I'm sure if I go out and plant, sure enough, we'll get like half a foot of snow. And maybe that's what I need to do, because we need the moisture anyway. So yeah, there's just a lot going on. We will be back to doing our normal live stream tomorrow, and the Monday after that.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't know. I'll echo the busyness, because really, when we sat down and planned it out, when I got officially laid off in middle of October,
Yeah.
There was a couple things out there, and I was going to go do a lot more writing. I was going to do a lot more content for my own stuff. And, around Christmas, I, finally really got a .com website going, and I had all this energy of doing a full-time car business,
and
and
it's died.
I mean, I haven't released a blog out in, gosh, I don't know, 3-4 weeks now because I've been so busy. I still have other clients I write for. I mean, I the car thing is just kind of taking a complete back seat because
Yeah.
I lost my interest on it, and you know, it's been challenging because, like you said, I took a job around the end of January that was supposed to be only for February. It was only going to be 4 weeks, and then it started a week early, which was good because it was still snowy. It got to the end of February, the beginning of March, and then it was extended, and then we got to the end of March, and then it was extended, and finally I'm days away, and I'll be done Friday.
And they're already trying to get you to take another.
Oh yes,
gig,
oh yes.
So.
Well, the current group I'm working for had another project, so they're like, if you want to stay on, and I was like, nope, I am gonna go be a farmer. I've got, because I had planned at the beginning of March to have a 30-day kind of cramming of work to catch up on stuff. I had planned to have this car I'm working on. I planned to have it done April 1st last year.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen because we went and, basically we're homesteaders full time of all the stuff we did last year. And as much as we did on construction around the house that we don't have to do this year, you might as well just put in adding fencing in that place because it's going to take the same amount of labor and time to fence in 20 acres plus cross fencing. And
plus the other 80.
We're doing barbed wire, so we still have to do some posts here and there, and then we have to do the corner posts and the all the structural pieces that really lend to the support of it.
Well, you know the old adage, you either have time or you have money, but you never have both.
Yeah.
So right now it seems like we have the money to do everything and no time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider trying to find some help to hire to at least help do the fencing. And unfortunately, I'm sure everybody knows this, it's really hard to find good help.
Yeah.
I get an awful lot of offers here lately. Oh, I see Matthew Lynch is on. Hey, Matthew. We get an awful lot of people who have contacted us in the last month or so wanting to come out and stay at the hip camp in exchange for labor. And I know we've talked about this before, and I'm getting more of them. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, I've got fencing to do. I should totally take some of these people up on it. But the last thing I want is bad help.
Yeah.
So,
well, that and Nikki joined a Facebook group that is dedicated to hip camp. So it's only hip camp hosts in there.
Yep.
So it's very interesting because if you consider yourself kind of like a small business in that, and if you want to expand and do all this other stuff, you get the perspective of other people in the same situation where they have maybe a handful of campsites or whatever else, but they can kind of share their good and bad stories, what does and doesn't work in that. And I tell you, I'm not in the group, but the stories Nikki tells me of you're not going to believe what I read today. The amount of people that come to a brief time and they don't leave.
Yeah, it doesn't happen to everybody, but it's stuff like, I guess the big thing that I keep seeing is all the hip camp hosts are saying, do not let anybody stay more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because if they're willing to camp out in your field for 2 weeks or on your property, chances are they have nowhere else to go and they're hard to get rid of. And I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting perspective because to pay for a hip camp site, you have to go in and you have to have a credit card and do all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum, I guess, if you will. But honestly, I don't want anybody down there that long, at least at this point.
Yeah, there was one story that really sticks with me, and it was the host that allowed somebody to book a month, 30 days, And at the end of the period,
Yeah.
the guy went down there and was like, "Okay, your time's up." And the guy's like, "I'm not leaving."
Yeah, they were in a state where the guy qualified for squatter law, I guess. So, and the guy knew this. So he booked whatever the bare minimum was and then told the hip camp host, yeah, no, I'm not leaving. You can't make me. And they had to get the sheriff involved, and the sheriff came out and said, this guy is a renter. He's been here at least 30 days. Now you have to issue him
An eviction
an
notice.
eviction notice, which gave him another 30 days. And by the time the guy actually left, he trashed the place.
Yeah, so it ended up costing him, basically, he got a month rental, and then he basically forfeited 30 days because it was the court deal of trying to get him evicted out.
Yeah.
And then the guy ended up destroying the campsite to the point.
Yeah.
So, and he didn't say, the host didn't come back and say, well, it cost me X amount to get it refurbished or whatever else. But I can tell you, 30 days for us plus damages, I mean, it could be over $1,000 in a drop.
Which, as aggravating as that is, Hip Camp is covering the guy. Because he was keeping everybody in the group updated, right? So he was saying, no, Hip Camp's come back and they're paying for the damages, and they were paying for a whole bunch of stuff. So,
Yeah.
But it's just the idea of having to deal with the hassle of it.
Yeah, it was just like, oh.
And we've had some interesting ones. We had some folks that contacted us that wanted to, one, book our most popular site. They wanted to pay less than $10 a night for it because they wanted to be here for 3 months while they looked at property, and because they wanted to move to the area. The weird part to me, so we're dog friendly. We're okay with having dogs as long as you keep them back from the LGDs. They had a mobile coop, and they were going to bring their own chickens with.
Mm-hmm.
And they were moving cross country, and I thought, how devoted to these chickens are you that you're moving them cross country with you? And we pretty much just put the kibosh on it because it started with we don't need anything. We're all self-contained. We just need somewhere to park. And then it was like, well, we need water and we need this and we need that. And his willingness to pay was dwindling. So it was like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't want anybody living out in my hayfield for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Because the other thing I had told him is he was going to have to pay weekly. I wasn't going to let him book continuously for that whole time. And that's simply so that we can get paid weekly to cover things like the trash and all the rest of it. He didn't like that either. And I thought, I don't know. I'm starting to get some weird vibes. And we have to be worried about drawing too much attention from the county or anything like that, because there are laws about how much time you can be camping on property and stuff like that.
Yeah, usually it's, even if you own the property, I think it's 2 weeks? Every 6 months you can be there technically.
Yeah, it's changed a whole bunch. So there's a bunch of screwy rules, but either way, it was more than I wanted to fool with. So we're not going to do that. But
yeah, I don't know. It's just that it's nice to have the little bit of extra income with it, but it seems like you almost have to have a degree or a thorough knowledge of business law and residential requirements and all that stuff to not get into trouble in some way. Because as much as I think Nikki and I talk about this all the time, as much as we trust people enough, it seems like every time we are either online or something else, we come across another story of somebody had theft involved that we've had in the area. If you've seen our Facebook page, somebody that we are acquaintances with had their front door stolen of all things, plus a bunch of tools and a bunch of weird stuff. And so it's just like, it's as much as you want to put the faith in strangers, a lot of times it seems strangers are just looking for the next opportunity to get something.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, we're lucky that we have enough property that we keep the hip campers back pretty far. They're on the back 40 and kind of far back. I read some interesting stories, like the one this morning was a lady that came out of the shower, had her window open, came out of the shower, and her camper needed something and had come up to the house and just happened to be walking by the window as she came out in the buff. She was just like, yeah, I guess I can't do that because they've got like 3 acres or whatever and one campsite, so
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't happen to me. But yeah, it's all interesting. But to what we were saying, so everything is really really busy right now. Overwhelmingly busy this year. I think partially because I've had a whole bunch of problems in the Harlequin Club. We're getting that straightened out. But the workload is not over with yet. We basically had to remove our national club secretary for just doing nothing. And so we're going through the whole deal of redoing bank accounts and tax ID numbers. And oh, well, we have been claiming to be a nonprofit for the last 40 years and we never actually filed nonprofit status. So I'm trying to go through all that as president and get all that straightened out. So, on top of that, if anybody saw some of Kanan's post the other day, I'm digging up all of the garden beds and turning them into hugelculture beds this year. So that's been exciting. So far, I have mixed emotions about the work involved. I think it wouldn't be so bad if I had started that way. So the new beds, of course, aren't too bad. The existing beds that I'm doing, it's kind of a hassle, but it probably needs to happen because if anybody's been around for very long, last year I really didn't garden. The year before, it was very half hearted because that was the year that I was really sick and there was a lot of throwing around the C word that turned out to not be cancer, but I had no energy and I didn't feel good. So I didn't get a lot done. So unfortunately, I have like 5 beds that the grass is just taken over. So I'm digging everything back out, covering with cardboard, which I did not do in the first place, putting the logs in, the compost, the dirt, and starting over. So it's kind of a big deal. Like I said, it's probably not that big of a thing because I still have like 6 weeks before we should be planting outside. It just feels overwhelming because right now it's so freaking nice out.
Yeah, I think, well, with anything, it's a lot easier to start over. I mean, you see that in construction and everything else of how many times that they take a building and they just completely just implode it and bulldoze it out and start over. And people are like, that was historic and all that. And it's twice the amount of labor and cost and everything else to properly dismantle and rebuild something than it is just to bulldoze it out of the way. And I think gardening is the same way. Hugelculture is fantastic if you're starting with a flat piece of ground with nothing and
Yeah.
you can just basically start from go. Well, at this point, everything's established. The beds are framed in, they have dirt in them, they have grass in them and that. And so it's not a matter of taking a shovel and just chucking out everything that's in there. It can be done, but you don't want to do that because we don't have great soil.
Yeah.
And now you've got 6 years of soil development in there, even though it's full of grass and everything else. You don't want to get rid of that soil because it's 6 years of compost and all that. It's
Blood, sweat,
yeah,
tears.
I mean literally. But yes, you could go down to Home Depot or whatever else and buy a pallet of dirt that's all organic and chemically balanced and all that other stuff.
I don't trust anything in plastic anymore.
But well,
the word organic doesn't mean much. They've cheapened it because, and I know you don't read as much stuff as I do, but organic, it's not what it was, right? So now you can use, there are certain chemicals you can use and there are certain things you can do, which are really not organic processes. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
So yeah, big garden plan this year. Lots of that going on. Goats and more goats. I think we have 18 doughs bred if everybody took. And I'm not sure about a couple of them.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they do or not. See if they kid out. I think I'm only suspicious of one of them.
Hazel.
Oh, make that 2 then. Two of them. Hazel is one, and Petunia is the other one. I don't really see kind of widening out where everybody else looks like they're carrying around um,
A football team.
a football team in there, and there's a couple that you just know they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable now.
They throw twins, and they are always massive twins, and it's just like, oh, what are you going to be in a month when you're about there?
I think we'll be lifting Belle to her feet because she's getting to the point where she's just ginormous.
Yeah, she is huge.
She's looking like she barely makes it out the 4-foot doors.
Yeah, she's a big girl.
And she might have triplets in there this year. I don't know. It's always hard to say. So that's kind of the big stuff. We're muddling through, I guess. Lots of rabbit projects, like I said, lots of cleaning, lots of fixing. And as soon as I'm done with all that, then I have to start working on the runs for the birds. And
Matthew's leaving.
Yeah, I got to do outside work. I don't blame you. That's what I'm getting ready to do too. And it's getting so freaking nice out there. We're getting ready to go. I don't know what he's doing. I know I'm back to cleaning more cages and trying to get stuff done, but
well, so one of the things we're going, at least right now, as I sit here, I'm planning to do. Nikki has 4 rabbits that need butchered, so the intent with those is probably to film the butcher video that will be released out as members only.
Yes.
And
everybody's been asking for it.
So it'll be kind of weird, and I was telling Nikki kind of what the idea is. I don't know that I can get the greatest filming done in one rabbit only, so as I film this, of course, harlequins were very distinctly marked in that, if it was a New Zealand or something that's a single color, you probably wouldn't know a lot of difference. But with 4 distinctly marked harlequins, it's probably going to be a little odd because as I'm doing it with the fur on, the initial parts, it may change rabbits in there as we film and edit and that. So I'll probably film all 4. And if I feel good about the first one, maybe we don't change. But, if you guys watch it, be like, are they switching rabbits? Yeah, it's because we're doing 4 distinctly marked ones. And I may be using clips from each of them.
Yeah.
It's also hard to film. I guess with flies and that, and if it's going to be 75 degrees, you'll have to. You can't languish all day talking about pieces, so it'll probably be pulling in all the little deals that to make a video out of it. So I'll probably be jumping through.
You may just have to do it and then do the audio later.
And I might do that during editing because I can re-speak over some things as I do it and that. So and we'll see how it turns out, but that is something we'll get done.
And again, he's going to start on that probably today. But again, it will be in the members only group. And I know that that's not everybody wants to do the whole members thing, but it's our way of controlling kind of the backlash, because we always get beat up a little bit over PETA type folks when it comes to anytime we're talking about meat animals in general, we get a lot of nasty comments. But so that'll be kind of the thing. I saw something about a nest box.
Big Swampy wants to know the size of nest box you would recommend for New Zealand's.
Kind of depends if it's a really big New Zealand or just an average New Zealand. So if your doe is 11, 12 pounds, somewhere in there, you're going to want to use something that's about 18 inches long. I like 8 to 10 inches wide. I prefer 10 inches wide. Makes for kind of a big box, and about 10 inches tall. That kind of works for me. Just that's what I use in my Americans, like the smaller Americans. My bigger Americans, I go all the way up to like 22 inches by. I've got some boxes that are foot wide, which is a little big, but you have to be careful, especially with some breeds, about the box being too big. So 18, like I said, 18 by 10 by 10 tall is probably fine for everybody. Just keep an eye on it. Some does like to nest box, sit, and hang out. I've had to go to smaller boxes for my Treonces because of this. You give them a box and they want to hang out in it. And half the time they smash their babies because they just want to be in it. So I've made them more narrow and less comfortable. So there's plenty of room in it. It's just that they don't feel like it's the cool hangout spot. And you can raise the front lip on it, helps tremendously too. It's when you use the shorter lip that they can see out of the box. A lot of times you'll get does that just park their giant booty in there and hang out. But because I've got that same problem with a couple of does right now. What fun? It's kind of funny. I've got a satin doe, and I couldn't figure out why. Her sister did great, and she is always in the box. And I thought, are you just a box sitter? And I got in there. No, she is so concerned about her babies all the time. So I moved the box around so that she couldn't see anything very well. So now she sits on top of it and she is constantly staring into the box at them. That's Cosmo. It's kind of, oh, you hear about this every now and then in rabbits where you get a doe that's just like obsessed with her babies. And that's apparently I've got one right now. I've got a satin doe that is just so worried about them all the time. And she's constantly checking on them. Like she'll come out to eat, get 2 mouthfuls of food, and then run over there and stare into the box. And I'm like, I hope this is going to go away. This is kind of weird.
Is she a first timer?
Yeah, she's a first timer.
No, that may be the first time jitters then.
Yeah, she's done really well. She did lose 2 of them when they were a little smaller. They fell out of the box and I think got cold. But she's got 5 or 6. This is the litter I had as a short the other day, Cosmo's litter. So yeah. Oh, and funny story on the satins. We'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow too. But so I thought I had 2 trios. And I could not figure out. I got 3 from a girlfriend of mine named Liz, and they were older experienced does and a young buck. And so she gives them to me, and I've been trying to breed these does since December, and nothing. Like one doe would get in there and just beat the living bejesus out of the buck. The other doe would just sit in the corner and have no interest. And I was like, what is the deal? So I got frustrated a month ago and I snatched up the one white doe and I was like, forget this. You guys are already 3 years old, because that was part of the deal. They were older does that Liz was moving out of her program. Took her over, put her in with my big black American who happens to be satinized. And I thought, well, I'm going to get satin babies out of this. She got her in there, lifted right away. And I thought, you sucker. Apparently you just don't like this guy. So the chin, because one of them's white, one of them's a chin, put her in, she's beating up the buck again. And I thought, this was a couple days ago, and I thought, darn it, you, I'm going to put you on with a bigger buck. So I walked her back over to the black American, put her in there. Minute I closed that door, she was tail to the sky and fall off and beautiful breeding. And I thought, what in the world is going on? So now I'm thinking, okay, so this obviously I've got a problem with the buck. So I go over there and I pull him out. And I had been noticing for a while, he had a little bit of a dewlap. But that happens in some of the bigger breeds, and we call it a dude lap. It's kind of a funny little, because he tends to be a little portly. So I pull Pancake out, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Do you have something wrong with you? Yeah, there was something wrong, all right. We were missing a penis because we're a doe. So I was like, oh my gosh, I wasted 4 months because I didn't check. And this has happened to me before where I've gotten rabbits from a rabbit breeder friend and I never checked. And I thought, gosh, dang it, I know better than this. So I walked her around to the broken black satin, and she's also now bred. And then I ribbed the bejesus out of my friend Liz and just said, hey, this rabbit has no penis, and this is actually a girl. And she said, oh my gosh, how embarrassing. So the rabbit had been a backup for a 4-H meat pen, and the kid who it was bred for, the kid had it and kept it for a pet for just a little bit and then sent it back to her. Well, the kid had told her it was a buck, and Liz never checked. What's funny is Liz did the same thing I did. She had tried to breed some does to this buck and didn't have any luck and couldn't figure out why, because she never looked at him. So
Yep.
Yeah. So now I have 5 satin does, 1 satin buck, and an American that's satinized that we're using on in that program. So somebody asked me yesterday why satins, because I've mentioned before that the nickname on these rabbits is Satan's, and we did it for a couple reasons. One, I've always liked the shiny. They're kind of cool. I don't like their personality. I will say that of all the satins I've been around, these 6 really do have a fairly good personality for satins.
They do.
But they're not friendly by any stretch of the imagination. They're not as psychopathic as New Zealand's are. Not even close. I mean, they're pretty laid back. Lily and Cosmo are pretty decent as far as they'll come up to the cage to see you. The buck is a pee machine. Like, the wire is so gross. You've probably not noticed.
No.
He's got the side of the trash can where the feed is. He's got the back wall. He's got everybody around him. He is just a pee machine. And I've always heard that about satins. I hate that. And I had thought about getting rid of him and getting a different buck. But considering right now he's our only satin buck, he'll be staying. And, yeah, otherwise, the other 2 does, not real. Well, Pancake's not friendly, but obviously we have our relationship problems since I thought she was a dude for this whole time. Jaja's not friendly, and neither is Cashew. Neither one is a real friendly doe. Like, they just tend to hide in the back corner and hope you go away. And then you'll feed them, and as soon as you step back, then they'll come eat. And it's like, eh.
Yeah, to me, they're kind of like the Champagnes were.
Yes.
I don't go in there very often, so it's not. I guess it's not out of the ordinary for the rabbits to not have a good response to me because I don't go in there very often. When Nikki goes out of town, yes, I go feed and water, but I'm pretty pragmatic of it. My goal in there is to go in there, make sure they're alive, feed and water, and I move on. I don't tend to scratch them. Your lop doe.
Oh yeah.
She is just a love bug, and if you don't stop and pet her on the head and give her some little loving, she gets absolutely bitter and angry about it.
It starts grabbing your jacket.
Yeah. I figured that out. Where you pet her one night and she grabbed my coat and just started shaking the and you finally pet her enough, and then she's like, all right, I will release you.
Yeah, she's a funny. But yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. The one thing I will say about the satins versus the Champagnes is the satins are better breeders. If you've watched the Champagne video or heard me talk about the Champagnes, man, anytime you didn't keep them bred, they didn't breed at all, and it was really frustrating. But other than here, I thought I was having the same kind of problems for 4 months. As soon as I figured out that I was trying to breed girls to girls, and actually took the does to the buck, no problem. Instant lift, very easygoing and accommodating. Whereas the Champagnes were not like that. They would sit in the corner and mouth off, and they put their little tails right to this corner, and that was it. So, yeah, I'm liking the satins. Will they stay here forever? No, they won't stay here forever. I don't like them quite enough for that. We brought them in for some specific projects. I'm tinkering with some stuff. The satins grow a little bit slow for a big meat breed. Like, they're not as fast as the New Zealand's are. But I am playing with breeding them in with... So the Americans grow really fast. So I'm breeding my Americans in a little bit. The question is, can I improve growth rate without screwing up type? Because remember, the Americans are mandolin shaped, so they're longer shouldered. So some experimentation going on there to see what I can do. But
and it's the experimentation is for a specific result. It's not just to see what happens, nor is it a lot of times you see people thinking they're going to fix the breed based on their opinion. These are not any sort of that way. They're not trying to fix the type on these. No, it's really trying to create a hybrid rabbit that is a better type meat breed, specifically, not fixing color, not fixing type. It's more like we're doing it.
I'm a tinkerer by nature a little bit, and if anybody's ever watched any of the goat stuff, I've been working on a Homestead goat project for like 7 years now, trying to develop my own goat that is dual purpose but not obnoxious like the Kinders. A little bit smaller but better meat. So I've been kind of playing with stuff, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. So I'm trying to mess with making, because the satins are a nice pelt animal, but growth rate is where they stumble. Um, so I'm trying to figure out, can you incorporate other stuff and maybe fix some personality problems and growth rate problems. I know a lot of people use New Zealand's and they cross them into the satins to fix type or whatever, and that's not what I'm doing. First of all,
Right.
because I've already got good meat qualities in the breeds I'm using, and I'm not going to take a psycho rabbit and screw up the personality, because, like I was saying, the satins aren't friendly, but they're not crazy either. Um, the Americans are very friendly, almost to the point of being pushy. So I'd like somewhere in between. But can I cross the two without screwing up shoulders? And I don't know. It's just an experiment. Everything that's coming out of here, if I'm not keeping it, is going to my cold buyer. So it's not like they're making it out of here either.
Yeah.
And if I do sell any of them, they're going without pedigrees and whatnot. But really, that's not the intention. They're all pretty much going to go for my own little my own little. And it's a good learning experience because these guys have all kinds of weird colors. The gal that I got 3 of them from was doing everything you can do for satin genetics wrong. So she was crossing otters and with Siamese, and then she had some copper in there. All of it was wrong. All of it. So what I got is this hodgepodge of weird color genetics hanging out in there. And then what my friend Liz gave me was a red-eyed white, so that they can have all kinds of stuff behind them, a chinchilla, and a blue tort. So I've got all kinds of funky genes in there, and it's learning, because I'm not the best at color genetics, especially when we get into otters and Siamese and all that.
If you're trying to breed specifically based on the standard of perfection, there's really a combination you really want to keep in order to do that. And a lot of these animals, the different breedings of mixing otters and torts and all that stuff, really has no bearing upon the standard of perfection. It was more like just breeding in the stuff for other qualities. But if you're trying to stay within the standard of perfection on any breed, you really want to try and hone in on the qualities that are there, not decide that you're going to do something different and then call them based on the standard of perfection. Because that's not how you do it.
Well, yeah, because I've got torts out there, and torts are not a recognized color in satins.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know, but I also didn't care. But yeah, I got in the first litter. Well, one of my does, first of all, is weird color anyway. Like, so far, nobody's been able to identify her. There's been a lot of theories that she was some kind of weird opal and some kind of weird otter that's not expressing correctly. She's pretty cool looking. And she produced an offspring that looked just like her that didn't make it. But she's, they're producing silver martened satins, which are not recognized and never will be. Which looks very much like an otter, except instead of the tan points, they're silver gray. Pretty rabbits. I got broken torts. I got full torts. I can't figure out in this other litter. I'm gonna have to send some pictures off. I think I got copper in the other litter. So, yeah, just experimenting, playing with it.
Yeah.
I'm doing my own version of the Tank Moo, the Texas A&M. This is my own version of it. I'm building my own composite breed.
Yeah, but that's, I guess we have no intention of going forth into the nation and be like, this is the Homestead rabbit of your dreams. And
you would have to have such a big breeding population to make that work.
I know. That's such an ambitious project that I don't think you or I or both or whatever is ever going to take that on because we just don't have that much time.
Yeah, that's probably true.
We just don't have that much time.
Time is the big thing. Because I think the other day I had this idea. I was looking at chickens, and there is not a red Wyandotte. There's a golden laced Wyandotte. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. And I thought, I bet I could make a red one. And I just walked away. I just put everything down and walked away and was like, you know what? I don't have time for a new chicken breed either. Yeah. So, go figure.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I've got that's going on. Like I said, we'll talk about some. So tomorrow's big theme is attitude. Yes. And I got an email from a subscriber that I'm going to read part of it because I say things, and I guess my life philosophy is my life philosophy, and I don't think about things. But she pointed some stuff out to me that I thought, oh, I guess so. Yeah. And it's really going to be about attitude on the homestead and how much that affects everything, and that sometimes you've just got to say it is what it is and move on. And yeah, it was a good email because Nikki ended up reading it to me, and she was like, "Hey, I got this email," and and the subscriber that sent it in. It wasn't her first, right? I think she probably sends you an email about once a week, maybe, of just every couple of weeks, questions, comments, just kind of So Nikki tends to because she monitors the email stuff. I look at a lot of the social media side of things, but I don't read the emails. So she read me the email, and I was like, wow, yeah, you're right. The things that she pointed out that stuck out in her mind, I thought were good points in the email, and I thought, that'd be a great video because we've been tinkering with this homesteading thing for like 20 years, and we've had a lot of wins, we've had a lot of losses. This is our third homestead or farm or whatever you want to call it, and we've had just think about what you've had in life in 20 years, jobs and successes and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, we're kind of not numb to it, but we take a lot more stuff in stride as that's just how it is. We got to move on. And where somebody that's in their second year, maybe just like ready to hang up, like this isn't going to work, this is out of control and all that. And our perspective on it is kind of like, we'll just change a couple things, keep going. Where it could be, But that wasn't always the case either. That wasn't. So. But I think that was the point. Don't give too much away. All right. That's going to be tomorrow. This week, let's see. We've got a question out on Tuesday. We'll have the eighth step, the final step on being a good rabbit breeder. And then I actually had an email from Dennis. Yeah, one of our subscribers sent me an email. In fact, I've got to sit down and email him back this afternoon. So if Dennis sees this, I found you, I think, a lilac breeder somewhat close to you, because he was asking. But he contributed a little bit and said, "Hey, there's another step. There's another step to this." Yeah. So I'll have a follow-up video next week. Yeah, next Thursday. That'll kind of follow up on the how to be a good rabbit breeder, because there is something that I didn't think about that needs to be addressed. Yeah. So. Yep. We'll have that. A good addition. Try to have some more shorts out this week. Kanan will have a formal update video for next weekend. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff. Really, I haven't been doing very well at filming. Nikki started last week. I did some it there, and then it's just the week has gotten away from both of us. So there you go. And then I'll be doing the butchering video shortly. I got to do the morning chores, and then I'll just put my butcher clothes on immediately. And I will probably warn you, it's probably going to be a little lengthy because it's not going to be just butchering. It's going to be talking a little bit about the butcher stand, some of the clothes you wear. It'll be a very good replication of what I taught when I did the butchering section of the rabbit class.
It was
Yeah.
probably a lot more in depth than people thought, but I know the three students we had in the initial class.
Yep.
I think they were very informed, and they went home immediately, took that knowledge, and I think all three of them now have reported back that they used that class and butchered some rabbits since then, and were like, "Wow, did that class make a huge difference?"
Yeah.
Somebody had said they tried one rabbit and it took them over an hour to struggle through it. And when I showed them,
know.
even teaching it, it was less than 10 minutes, I think, when I showed them the first rabbit. And it was just like, you could just see the, how did it take me an hour to do this? And you did it in,
Yeah. You're a pro. Got it. Yeah, so Kane's going to be working on that. Probably this next week. That'll go out to the members group.
Yeah.
Members page.
Yeah, I don't know what day, but it'll probably go out there. So.
Yeah, so I think that's it. We've hit an hour, right?
Yep,
we're over an hour. So thanks everybody who stopped in and watched. It's gonna be a nice one. I'm going outside. I got things to do.
Yep. So
we lost Matthew for the same reason. Got outside stuff to do. It's beautiful.
Yep. So that's it. We'll if you have questions or anything else, you can either leave them in the comments, email them to us, or you can just bring them in tomorrow and we'll answer them on the fly as it comes in. I'll have my laptop open. We'll answer them on the fly.
Will it include
pelt or non-pelt butchering? I don't change the style of it based on pelt.
The way Kanan does it, you can do either one. So
yeah. But I'll mention that, Leslie, in the video that it can be for or not for butchering. I do the same style to do it because it's easier on the pelt whether you're going to keep it or not.
Yeah, you could talk about that a little bit. I mean, we don't do a lot of pelt stuff, but basically he takes it off in a roll, like
and I'll
inside out, and then if you're going to stretch it out to do pelts, you cut it open after the fact.
Yes,
and it just keeps it cleaner.
Yes,
so
we'll explain it all that way, and just kind of as I'm speaking about it, I'll differentiate if it is for keeping the pelt or it doesn't matter. To try and help out either way.
Very good.
All
right. Everybody have a great Sunday. Get out and do some yard work or something. I think it's beautiful everywhere.
I hope so.
So we will see everybody tomorrow night, provided that the internet participates.
But you never know.
On the normal live stream for Monday. And have a good day. Bye.